Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here, Rake and Profit over at rakeandprofit.com, coming back to you with another video from in front of my investment property. And if you guys didn't get a chance to see some of my previous videos over the last 6 months or so, I purchased my first 2-family property, and I'm actually real excited to announce that I'm actually going to be looking for another property. So yeah, I just got some landscaping done. As you can see right here, it's all mulched out, new plants, looking good. But what we're going to be talking about today in this video is how to quit your job. How do I quit my job? I want to go full-time eBay. I want to go full-time Amazon. I want to quit my job. And I had just gotten a comment from a guy who was 26 years old who wants to quit his job. He was asking, Steve, how do I actually do it? What's the process for doing it? And I want to share with you guys some tips for how you could eventually quit your job. Now, I do want to say, it's going to be different for everybody. It depends upon your current situation. For me, when I first quit my job, when I was, how old was I? I'm 32 now, so I was like 25 or 26. I was working at the Cracker Barrel, and I was living at home with my parents. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have like any huge bills. I didn't have like a ton of responsibilities. I wasn't even paying rent. So for me to be able to quit my job, it's probably like much easier than your situation, right? You might have an apartment, you might have kids, you might have a wife, you might have a family. So you need to understand, in order to quit your job, like, you've got to take it very serious. For some people, it's going to be easier. If you're a teenager, if you're maybe in your mid-20s, you had a late start like me, and you had family helping you out and stuff, or if you're on the other side of the coin. So first thing you got to do is figure out how much money do you need to survive, right? And not just survive, but to be able to save money, to be able to pay your bills, to be able to take care of all your responsibilities, right? So that might be, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 a month, right? It might be $6,000 a month, which comes to around $200 profit per day, right? So that's the first thing you need to figure out. Number two, you got to figure out how much money, should I save up, have as like a security in case things go wrong, right? Because reselling is not for everybody. Quitting your job and working for yourself is a complete different responsibility. When you work a job, you're punching in, punching out, clocking in, clocking out. You've got somebody telling you what to do, telling you to do your work. You've got managers looking over you. When you're running a reselling business, there ain't nobody out there telling you, Steve or John or Heather, time to go outsourcing, time to ship, time to deal with these nasty customer responses, time to do this, time to do that. You've got to pull back here. You've got to watch your budget. You've got to do this. You got to do that. It's all up to you. So I would have, once I figure out how much money I need to make, because eventually we're going to reverse engineer how to do it through like listings and whatnot, and the amount of inventory that we source and the amount of listings that we have, figure out how much money you should have like in a security fund in case things go wrong, right? Maybe 3 to 6 months, right? So for you, that might be having 15 or 20 grand saved up before you make that plunge if you're gonna just quit. Another thing you can do as well before we kind of dive deeper is kind of do like a half quit. Don't full out quit. I don't know if you have the ability to kind of like half quit or pull back your hours, but I recommend slowly quitting your job. So I actually have a good friend of mine who works at a bakery full-time, 40 hours a week, and he's been pulling back slowly as he grows his eBay business. And he went from 40 hours to 30, now I think he's down to 20, and he's pulling back his hours at work, and he's slowly growing his eBay business, because it takes time, right? You might do $5,000 in sales your third month on eBay or Amazon, but that's not your profit, right? You've got to take off all your expenses, and then obviously there's cash flow that goes into it, right? So you might be netting $2,000 profit, but you're investing another $1,000 profit into your business every month with inventory and whatnot. So it kind of takes time to kind of snowball all of that. So once you kind of consider which way you want to go, I honestly would recommend doing like the half quit, slowly pull back your hours. What you need to do is you kind of need to like reverse engineer how much money you need to make. So maybe in this instance, you need to make $6,000 profit per month. That comes down to $200 profit per day. Now you need to really dive into the types of items that you're selling. Maybe your average item that you're selling is making you $10 profit, right? So that would be what? 10 times 10 would be 100. 100 times 10 would be 1,000. So you need 100 items to make $1,000. So that means you would need 600 items a month to sell profit after all said and done to hit that goal. 600. So now you got to break that down: 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, 210, 240, 270, 300. So you need about 20 items a day, right? 20 items a day you need to sell at a $10 profit over a 30-day period. Now this is an average for you to hit it. So now you need to go back and you need to think, okay, how many items do I have for sale right now? How many are selling? So maybe you have, I'm gonna just throw out random numbers. It's gonna be hard for me to keep all these numbers in my head with the 6,000 profit. But let's just say you have 100 listings up for sale right now, and you're hitting that $10 average profit, and you're selling, I don't know, maybe you're doing $1,000 profit per month at the end of the day with your $10 average profit. So what you need to do essentially is you need to multiply that by 6. So I would have a goal of getting my listings up, keeping my quality, keeping the same types of items, get my listings up 6 times. So have 600 listings, because if you have 100 listings right now and you're making $1,000 a month on average, if you could keep that same quality and scale that to 600 items in your inventory, then there's a good chance that you're gonna be able to hit that goal. Now, keep in mind, with scale, you're gonna lose some of that profitability, especially if you start hiring people. And a lot of times when people start to scale their inventory, they lose out on the quality of items that they're sourcing. So you probably more realistically would have to get more towards like maybe 700 or 800. But if you could keep that same quality and get to the 600 listings, you know, in this example of you have 100 now, you're making 1,000. If you get to 600, theoretically, you would be able to hit that goal, right? So that's kind of like how I would do it in terms of quitting my job. I would work towards that goal. I think the best thing you could do if you're trying to quit your job is go straight Gary Vee, right? Gary Vee talks a lot about working your full-time job from 9 to 5 and then coming home and working from 7 to 1 in the morning. Now I know this isn't going to be sustainable forever, and you got to get your sleep. And in these types of situations where you're grinding hard, you got to make sure that you are getting sleep, that you are resting when you can. Diet is so important, making sure you get in your workouts, that you're keeping a healthy mind, you're meditating, you're staying healthy, that you're staying away from negative people and you're staying positive. Because when you're trying to quit your job, especially if you have a lot of bills and you know, and you're in a tougher situation than I was, because I really had it easy. Let's just be real. I had it very easy, but I was lucky that I started young. If you're in a really tough situation with kids and a family and you're trying to quit your job, you're gonna have to do those late night grinds, and you're gonna have to take care of your body, and you're gonna have to be smart with your time, you're gonna have to be strategic, and you're gonna have to be evaluating things from time to time. You're gonna have to take a step back at times and say, all right, is my business on the trajectory of where I'm looking to go in order to quit my job? How are the profits looking? Are the shoes not selling? Maybe all my vintage hats are selling really well, or maybe the textbooks on Amazon is what's crushing it. And you know, maybe you have to apply that 80-20 rule, you know, Pareto's principle. Maybe, you know, you're spending 100% effort, but maybe 10% of your efforts are getting you like 60% of your results. And you're like, wow, I need to scale that 10%. And maybe you're spending 60% of your time on clothing, but then you're looking back and the profits aren't where they should be relative to the amount of time that you're spending. So it's always one of those kind of push and pull. You're reevaluating, you're trying, you're experimenting with new items and seeing what works, experimenting with new platforms. Maybe Facebook Marketplace is killing it for you. Maybe Amazon FBA is going berserk. Maybe eBay is absolutely on fire, but your Amazon business isn't doing well. Maybe you got to switch from being a merchant to an FBA seller, get off Craigslist and move to Facebook Marketplace. So, you know, in order to quit your job, you know, it's a process. It definitely takes time. And, you know, a lot of times us influencers and YouTubers or gurus or whatever you want to call it, we make it sound easy. And it is easy kind of like once you get there, right? It's like once you learn to ride a bike, it's easy. But when you're trying to learn how to do it, it's the hardest thing in the world. So once you quit your job and you go full time and you figure out your sourcing methods and you figure out your listing methods, and maybe you hire a couple virtual assistants or physical employees to be able to help you list. And like once you get your process down and you really carve or master your niche, it becomes much easier. But getting there is a long process. It takes time. And for the average person who's just starting as a complete beginner to quit your job and get to $3,000 to $5,000 a month, it's gonna take you, probably a good anywhere from 3 to 12 months, depending on how hard you're going, learning, watching videos, applying. Depends how much money you have, depends where you live in the country. For some people, let's just be real, we're gonna have a better opportunity to make money reselling versus someone who lives out in the middle of Kentucky, right? You might be, I don't know, you might be climbing up a wall that isn't very efficient, right? So you might be out in Kentucky trying to hit thrift stores and you don't have many, you have to drive 50 miles to each one, whereas it might be smarter for you to do online arbitrage to scale your reselling business, or go private label, or order wholesale, liquidation. Thrift stores, garage sales might not be your thing, so you've always got to be reevaluating. I really want to kind of hit home with that. There's so many ways to skin a cat in a reselling business. There's so many ways to make money. There's also so many ways to lose money as a reseller. So you've got to figure out what works for you. And you know, when you're watching these YouTubers and stuff, myself included, find one or two people that you really resonate with and go hard. Go hard into shoes if that's what you want to do, and stay away from books. Or if you're going to go into books, go hard into books. Master one or two niches at first, get really good at it, and figure out, is this going to work for me? And then go hard into that. Because if you're trying to do this and do that, and you're dabbling in all these different things, you're dabbling in Facebook, you're dabbling in Amazon, you're dabbling in eBay, you're dabbling with shoes, you're dabbling with flipping lawnmowers on Craigslist, whatever, like, you're not going to get the results that you could be getting if you really just went hard and like honed in on one or two things. So hopefully this video helps you and gives you some context in terms of how to quit your job. I know there's so many different things that I could have touched on and so many things I probably missed out on. If you have any more questions, definitely leave a comment below and let me know, what advice would you give to somebody who's watching right now? Maybe you've quit before, you quit your job. What advice would you give to somebody, your top advice for quitting their job? What's the process? What's the mindset? What are one or two actions that they need to take? What are one or two things that you did to quit your job? Would love to know in the comments. But if you guys enjoyed this video, do me a big favor and smash that like button down below and have yourself an amazing day. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.